Hey everyone, welcome to dropping into Pipeline Audio. This is number 96, and right when I was going to start this up, I just got some news over Discord of all places that the Booleanenator has just died. So sorry, I'm going to dedicate this one to him. So rip Booleanenator. If you're involved in the science or skepticism blogosphere, this is probably somebody you knew from maybe the Great Debate community, or a lot of the science pushing, what do you say, science popularizing shows out there, or skeptics shows on YouTube, debate shows. This is a bummer, man. I mean, holy hell, this is a nightmare year. We had a couple days left, and here comes another one. So rip Booleanenator, man. This was going to be called Your Mom's Basement for other reasons, but yeah. So I'm just going to get right on into it, and I'm going to try and stop saying how about that? So first thing that came across my radar when I was writing down stuff for this week was a post on the Gear page called The Ethics of Selling Guitars with Floyd Rose. And I'll read this first, and then, we can do a deeper dive into this thing. It says, I see a lot of novices ending up with an electric guitar with the Floyd Rose. There's no shortage of guitars with the Floyd on the market, and a lot of novices buy those guitars because they think they look cooler, like they're better equipped, etc. If you don't know, Floyd Rose is a type of tremolo. Generally, the Floyd Roses we think about nowadays are a fully floating, double locking tremolo. That means there's a locking tuner instead of a regular tuner, or a locking nut. Sorry, instead of a regular nut. And man, you guys just got to put an electro zapper on me for every time I say and then I'll stop. And the other side is a lock on the bridge side. On each individual saddle has a lock that holds the string in place. These tend to work really well compared to other types of tremolos, but there's still we'll get to this in a second. We'll get to the mechanics of a tremolo. But what this post goes on to say is what none of these novices realize is, one, how difficult it is to change the strings. Okay, for the most part, the double locking Floyds, you're going to use an Allen wrench to unlock it. There's a process to changing the strings, and you can't just change them willy-nilly, because the way a tremolo works, the way these things work, is that the tremolo comes to rest. It goes into its stable position when spring tension equals string tension. There's things that modify that, but there's no way of changing that basic fact. And you run into guitar techs all the time that are like, oh yeah, well, there's a trick to it. There's not a trick to it. The guitar goes into rest when spring tension equals string tension. Now, there's nut binding. There's binding on the posts. The knife edges get messed up. If you're looking at an old Fender one where there's just screws into the body, like 6 screws or whatever, you can get binding on the screws. But still yet, that's modifying the string tension or the spring tension. That's where it comes to rest. And so let's just say when you bend one string, you're dumping the tremolo forward. You're increasing the string tension, or you're reducing the string tension on all the other strings, while you're increasing the spring tension. So if you've got a fully floating guitar, Floyd Rose or not, do this test. So just take your high E string and get ready to bend it. Play your low E string into a tuner, and then bend that high E string, and you'll see the note go flat on the low E. And that's how it's supposed to work. So you got to be aware of what it means to have a fully floating bridge. Now, for some weird masochistic reason, I won't buy a guitar unless it has a Floyd Rose on it. And every single one of my Floyds, if you come over here, is blocked off. So it's dive only. I can't pull up on them. And I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, I always got to buy these things. I love the sound of a dive bomb, but I never really do it. So mine are blocked. And so I'm not going to fault anybody for buying a Floyd Rose if that's what they want. But know what it is that you're getting into. Let's see. He says how frustrating it is to tune. And that's the thing. So if you loosen one string, all of the other ones are going to change. So when you go to change your strings, you're going to know, you get into that Zeno's paradox thing where you have to get halfway there, but you change this one and it changes that one. And you just got this relationship that's just a nightmare. There's tricks to that actually, but it's still a pain. So when you go to tune your string, you get it in tune and all the other ones are dumped down or pitched up or just all messed up. In theory, if you're getting the exact same strings and you just change out one string, it really should reach equilibrium, but it's always a fight. And that's why I just block these things off. But I do like to dive them. Number 3, that is impossible to actually play a lot of the licks they most likely want to learn. Yeah, when you're a beginner, you may not be able to play all those crazy things. 4, there's no practical way to venture into alternate tunings. So I don't know about the ethics of selling these things or not. You probably should, as the guitar store guy, just warn that, hey, you're getting into a tuning nightmare. But the thing is, even if you mechanically get this guitar in tune, you still have to play it in tune. And that comes to when you're getting into bending, how hard you're pulling on the strings. You know, normally you want to kind of stay on your fingertips and not really bend the strings while you're playing chords or whatever, because it's going to sound out of tune. But this changes the string pitch relationship even more. You know, when you hold it a little bit too hard, you might be dumping the tremolo forward. When you pick a little bit too hard, you are dumping the tremolo forward. I mean, there's a lot that's going on. When you rest your hand to palm mute on the bridge, you're probably pulling the pitches up, and you can hear these in a lot of classic albums. So playing with the fully floating bridge, you really got to be aware of what you're doing. And what I keep telling bands, man, is tuning is critical. We've seen, you know, this is your chance. The audience may or may not know exactly what the problem is when they hear something. But when they hear an out-of-tune guitar or out-of-tune lead and out-of-tune band on stage, they know something is drastically wrong. But they may not be able to tell you what it is that's exactly wrong. But they know it's wrong, and they don't really want to hear it again. And that's a thing. And you make sure you're in tune when you're presenting yourself on the stage. You know, it's super critical. You know, I've watched all manner of promising careers go in the dumpster because the one chance they got to play in tune, they didn't. And I mean, this is just so critically important. Hey, Charlie. Hey, Charlie Eisenberger, man. This is a very cool guy. Talk to Sheep, man. And Sheepheads and the Horny Toads. And we had some really cool bands in Arizona. Charlie's band, the Horny Toads, was just absolutely awesome. Okay, so that's the thing. You wanna play in tune. It's so important, and it's not just tuning the guitar. It's you playing in tune. It's watch out for those banana fingers. Get on your fingertips if you can. I think what is it? Doug Marks calls it something else. Maybe he calls it banana fingers. I don't know, but he's warned about it as well. And you know, we have some kids bands that they're just starting out, and they got guitars with Floyd Roses on them. And I tell you, man, it makes it very hard to deal with. So when you're just starting out, save yourself the trouble. Don't get a Floyd Rose. I love Floyd Roses. Floyd Rose knows I love Floyd Roses. But and especially if you're going to always have a spare guitar, and especially when you got a Floyd Rose, make sure that spare is a fixed bridge. I don't care if you can't do the dime bag squealy things with the tremolo. much more important that you're playing in tune. So I'm going to move on from there. Okay, next thing. And this sucks. I was trying to finish up a bunch of albums on Christmas Eve, stuff that's supposed to go out for Christmas of all times. And Melodyne decided that it would take away all my S's. It was the weirdest thing. And so I get on their forum, I get on everybody's forum and start looking for it. And it looks like on GS, there's a 10-year-old thread talking about this. And I guess this has been going on for forever. This is kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. Melodyne is a pain to me. I know I've gotten in massive arguments about this thing. It doesn't, you can't directly edit the pitches the way you can in Autotune, in the graphical mode anyway. If you don't know what I mean by that, I'm sorry, but you kind of can't. In Autotune and such, you can directly draw in what pitch you want. In Melodyne, it's more about modifying it, which is fine if that's the way you want to work. I don't necessarily want to work that way, so it's a little trickier for me. But really, this is just the straw that broke the camel's back. I have a lot of trouble with ARA. I love ARA. It's such a good idea, the audio random access that Melodyne came up with and Reaper implements awesomely. It's really cool, but a lot of times it goes into percussive pitch detection instead of melodic pitch detection, and there's nothing I can really do about it. It just decides to do that. And I try and fix it, but it just won't let me. Another one is, let's see, what else is it? Oh, it puts the wrong tracks info in the effects window, in the editor window. And so I don't know what it is that I'm actually editing, and it just becomes it's just messed up. And never mind that it seems to crash constantly. It's just sketchy. Melodyne is sketchy. And so I really wanted to go and look at other stuff, the other ones. So I went and I heard from people on the Reaper users group, thanks guys, to check out Revoice Pro. And that's from SynchroArts, the guys who make Timeline. These guys tend to make amazing stuff, but it's pretty expensive. It's not bad. I think it's like $300-$400. If I was doing a lot of work and really could justify it, this would be a no-brainer. I've had to spend more than that on dumb things this year. So I couldn't activate it. I couldn't activate the demo as I had put in the wrong iLock license, so I needed to switch to my other one. And when I got back to it, it said that the temporary demo license thing was already activated, and I couldn't do anything about it. So I came down to the school, and I was actually able to get it working. But man, you guys are making it so hard to try demos. And I'll get to that in a second. Holy hell. But it's tricky. I think more people would try products if it wasn't such a pain to do it. And, this always has to do with copy protection and nothing else. And it just sucks. I know, iLock, it's great, whatever. Some people don't have any problems with it. I have a nightmare of a time with iLock. I'm terrified of it. And now that I think Pace owns Juice, that's even scarier. Anyway, I got Revoice working, and this stuff, if you haven't tried the demo, go and try it. Now, there's a weird workflow to it. You gotta switch over to 1 second. Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Oh, are you doing that?
Yeah. What? Is there a problem?
No.
There's a transfer to it. It's kind of like the old Melodyne, I think, where you transfer into the separate editor, external editor. Unlike Melodyne, it doesn't feel like a clunk fest. It doesn't feel like it's going to blow up your computer. And it's using ARA. So when you do the transfer, it's transferred, and when you play it in the editor, it works hand in hand with your DAW itself. It's pretty good, actually. It's just I'm not sure that I could handle the workflow. It looks like a very long workflow, kind of a lot to it. You get one You get one license for that $400 too, which is rough because, you know, I spend a lot of time health-wise. I spend a lot of time working at home, and then I come back down here to do final mixes or whatever. So I'm not sure, but it was very cool. I'm hoping to talk to somebody who uses it more, who can tell me more about it. But do yourself a favor, check out Revoice Pro 4. It's very interesting, very professional software. So the other culprit, you know, of course, is Autotune, right? That's the original graphical editor and stuff. Man, so let me show you this. So anybody who's watching here, in order to even try the demo right now for Autotune Pro 9.91 or something, you got to put in a credit card and you got to make a subscription. You can cancel this subscription at any time, they say, but that's how this thing is going to work. I'm kind of blown away here, man. I can't even try your demo without paying. And this is another $400 software. I think you get 2 licenses on this one instead of 1 with the Revoice. But man, I'll tell you, Autotune, you remember way back in the day, maybe 2010, 2008, around there, this was still the best you could get. And I think Wavestune was just coming out, and we hadn't realized yet that Wavestune, and listen up, Wavestune was horrifically broken and really needed to be fixed. And so we got 10 years of waiting for you guys to fix it or whatever. Please, Waves, fix this thing. You'd have the best one on the market if you just fix the damn thing. You know, it doesn't work in offline mode except for anything going to the master track, which sounds like that's not that bad of a thing, but really it is. It's a rotten workflow killer, and then even then it barely ever works. So Autotune's been, to me, out of the picture for about 10 years. They had a bunch of automatic Evo whatever thingamabobbers, but I hadn't really seen anything from Autotune, and lately, the last couple years, I've been trying the demos of Autotune, and it's been so clunky and so buggy. I couldn't believe it. It jumped the RT CPU and Reaper up to like 80% or something on a really strong computer. So it was just impossible to run at one time. And it didn't have the feature that Revoice Pro and Melodyne's most expensive, like $800 version have, where you can have a bunch of vocal tracks up at once. So you can really edit them in context and really hear what you're doing. I tell you, it's this many years later, Autotune should be way up ahead of the pack, but they really aren't, you know. So that was kind of where I am. So Wavestune's not going to work. Melodyne, man, I'm so tired of Melodyne. It's a bummer. Isotope stopped making their Nectar, which kind of is a marriage between the best of Autotune and kind of the Wavestune way of doing it. And yeah, they let it die. They're telling you to use Melodyne. No, thank you, Isotope. So there was another one called Crispy Tune or something, but that one, and that looked like a Wavestune type of deal, and that one disappeared into the Brainworks ether. But I have not been able to find any updates or news about it, which is, it's just a bummer. I don't know what else there is out there. There's like Vicalang or something like that, but I don't know. It hadn't been updated since 2002 or something. I don't know, man. Like, what's out there for graphical pitch editors? Is there something? I see that some DAWs have the stuff integrated into it. I keep hearing about the Cubase one. So hopefully we're going to see that in Reaper someday soon, because this is just lame. You know, I'm going to pay $5 billion for something that barely works. You know, I mean, you know, Revoice actually is pretty cool, but I don't know if I can handle that one computer per $400 license deal. Yeah, not thrilled about that one. May have to go back to Melodyne, which sucks. I may have to just keep trying to fight through Wavestune. I don't know. Well, we'll see if I can find a way to get this damn Autotune demo. Maybe they fixed it since the last time I tried it. What a bummer. And so, of course, you get that one guy, and this is why I was going to call this your mom's basement. You always get that guy who, when you're asking about, what's a better graphical tuner, because I need this thing. This is a tool I need. They say, why don't you re-record it? Oh, thanks, Captain Obvious. I would have never thought to re-record the vocals. Wow. I wonder why I didn't think of that. Get over yourself. That's about on the let me Google that for you crap. People assume, when you're on these forums and stuff, that you're working on your own stuff. They don't know who they're talking to. You never know who you're talking to. Don't project your own amateur status onto others. Some of us, this is how it is. You record people to the best of their ability, and then you nudge things. They're not going to do another take. If you're running a commercial studio, this is just one of the things you're going to have to decide on. Do you want to be a stickler for it and not have very many customers? You might have the best customers actually if you do that, or do you want to do what you have to do and do what you have to do? And I'm going to do what I have to do, and I need a graphical tuner for vocals. Period. If you're sitting in your mom's basement and you got time to re-record your epic ill rhymes for the 5 billionth time, go for it. I'm not stopping you. God, man, this is just another one of those things where just drags down the tone of a room. And a little bit more on that later. So we got a guy that wants to upgrade his computer, but he wants to run in an RME HDSP 9652. We got our first 9652, I think, in 2001. We got 4 of them. I think they came out in 99, maybe a little later or a little earlier. So these are PCI sound cards from RME, who I'm going to always say is the best in the business when it comes to drivers. And I'm sure there's people who could debate that, but I've got the numbers to back it up, and so do the big DAW builders that I can think of. This particular sound card, audio interface, is kind of what Reaper was built around. I actually sent Justin one of these things at the very beginning, but before I even knew who he was, really, because that is really the thing to build it with. And this is a 20-something-year-old card at this point, and they're still making drivers for it. And it's still among the fastest round-trip latencies in the industry, and especially when it comes to low-latency performance. If you go to DAW Bench and really check out how these things work, it's hard to compare to it. And so, because it's hard to get PCI slots anymore, there's like expansion chassis or adapters or something. We don't know how well they work. I think RME is saying some of them work. It's hard to get this stuff now. And so, he's not really sure what to do. And so somebody's just telling him to get a different interface. But I'll tell you, once you've done ASIO on a bus, a PCI bus or whatever, it's so hard to go back. Maybe there's a PCIe version or whatever now, which maybe that makes more sense. But I'm wondering, can you just run, these are 32-bit PCI slots for the most part, and I'm sure that's what ours were back in the day before there was 64-bit Windows. So shouldn't it just work okay, or is it going to be a problem? And so, of course, speaking of your mom's basement, some guy's in there saying, oh, yeah, don't use that old crap, use this AES 67 stuff. And as it always goes, you ask, what's a good example of an AES 67 interface? And instead they say, let me Google that for you. So, when I Google it, I come up with Dante. How many times we talked about Dante in here? So, no, I'm not going, you're not going to compare a Dante interface of any sort with an RME 9652. You might sort of be able to compare it to an RME Dante interface, but you still got that horrible added forced Dante dongle latency on there. You got the Dante dongle added price for no reason on there. You got the Dante limitations on sample rates and directionality, and oh man, there's no, to even think you can compare Dante with an RME on a PCI card, you're on crack. But I'd still like to hear about what we're moving into. I mean, that's the future, network audio. And what about AVB? We keep hearing AVB's coming, and it's been out for years, but I barely see anybody actually using it in a practical sense. So I'd love to know more about that. So if you're really an AVB expert, let me know and give me an idea of what's going on with that stuff at this point. I think Tim said that if I didn't like Dante, I was going to like AVB even less. Does AVB add latency as well? Does AVB add like this crazy just dongle money onto it? Or, I mean, what do you have to do for it? It seemed like the whole point of Dante is that you can get onto a network. But no, you got to buy their card and then put that onto a network and pay. Yeah, barf, man. Okay, and finally, this is going to be a short one, and I don't care. I got a lot to do today. Somebody wanted to get he's wondering, hey, I'll just read it for you. Hey, everyone, I'm at a point where I feel like I've just about reached the maximum result I could achieve with my current set of the software instruments, voice, and guitars in my bedroom. Incremental improvements are still possible without a doubt, but I'm really contemplating getting one of those pieces of studio console powerful preamps. My goal would be to run all my instruments through it and see if its natural distortion can color and modify the tones of my instruments to give them more depth, more feel, and more of a natural sound, help them lift off the ground, so to speak, and acquire more of a 3D feel. If anyone has any experience with those whatsoever, give me your opinion on what the bare minimum is I should spend to get the most bang for the buck. Like, I won't spend $3,000 on this, and how I'd go about re-recording, say, my software drums to it. I heard a reamp box isn't necessary. Thanking you. This is one of those things where people constantly hear, and man, I'm going to get a lot of crap from this by the true believers out there, but, as we said before, if you go to pipelineaudio.net, I've actually tested these things and run them apples to apples to apples and checked super high-end Neves and Amex and other things up against the cheapest Behringer mic preamps. Listen, you're not going to... Maybe you want the distortion. There are things that make certain flavors of distortion, but when we ask these golden ears who constantly talk about this stuff, the cork sniffers out there playing pigeon chess on the internet, they can't tell one mic preamp from another, no matter how much they say. They're full of crap. You don't want to distort. I mean, you probably don't want to distort your stuff through your mic preamp. You might, but that's not what's going to separate your super crap song from a super awesome song. It's just not. That's not the rock to look under. Sorry, 1 second. Hey. Hey, I'm on the air right now. If you get on Facebook, you can go check it out. I gotta get off the phone. All right. So that's the nature of the live. That's the nature of the live deal. There's your phone. Anyway, you're not gonna make a hit out of a turd by spending more money on mic preamps. You're not gonna make turds out of hits by using crappy mic preamps. That's just how it is. You guys can argue with me all you want. Bring your evidence. How about that? How about some ABX tests? How about one of our gear giveaways when you guys can pick which one's which reliably more than random chance? So that's really all I got for today. For anybody who didn't make it on, get on here next weekend, man. All right. I will see you guys later.